Welcome back, viewers. And if you just joined us, you're right on time because the show is about to kickstart. And on today's episode on the Engendered, we will be discussing a very important topic, which is the effects of drug abuse on kids and teenagers. Now, before we go into the topic proper, let me give you an insight or a brief introduction on what we'll be discussing about. Let's have this excerpt. Now, the past year prevalence of any drug use in Nigeria is estimated at 14.4%, or 14.3 million people aged between 15 and 64 years. Now, the extent of drug use in Nigeria is comparatively high when compared with the 2016 global annual prevalence of any drug use of 5.6% among the adult population. Drug abuse is described as the non-adaptive model of drug use with adverse health consequences that usually produce cognitive, behavioral, and psychology dysfunction, problems among abusers. It is not a new phenomenon, not at all. It has been there, but it is one that is growing at an alarming rate, especially here in Nigeria, our country. Now, on today's episode, we will be commemorating the World Drug Abuse Day, which was celebrated yesterday, June 26th. And the theme for this year is Evidence is Clear. Invest in prevention. Invest in the prevention of drug abuse in order to curb or eradicate this social menace among the young ones. Now, World Drug Day is very crucial to raise awareness about the impact of drug abuse and its trafficking on individuals, families, communities across the world. We'll be discussing this important topic today with our amiable guest who just joined us in the studio. She goes by the name Grace Okwa Ogilegwu. She is a medical physiologist and mental health instructor. Many thanks for joining us, Grace.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So how has your day been?
Very stressful.
Very, very stressful.
Very stressful.
Even coupled with the economic situation.
And all.
But then you don't look it at all, right, Bukola?
She doesn't. Are you so sure? We all don't look it. Today has been so stressful.
Yeah.
From work, I came down, you know.
You were fine.
Thank you.
Last, we'll do all right.
Thank you so much.
I mean, the president has promised us a renewed hope agenda.
Yeah.
So let's be hopeful.
Hopefully, we're very optimistic.
But then so far, I think he has spent up to 1 year, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, so what can you say so far about his administration? To give the sigh. It's plenty.
The sigh said everything.
So much has happened within the period of him coming into seat, and now there have been so much changes. The removal of subsidy has led to so much. We have the economy currently, inflations and all. It has really affected, you know, so many things, and it's not just something interesting to talk about because it has affected, you know, even our mental health, you know, going to the market and, you know, getting to get the price of good. It's enough to break you down.
It's constant, the price of good. You know, we have a morning price, afternoon price,
evening price,
tomorrow price.
Next, because nowadays you go to the market. Okay, today, you got something at this price, and then give it like 2 days, and then you go, and they're just like,
2 days is
like, I just bought this thing. They say, and that's how it is.
And where the price will skyrocket.
The difference is so much.
You feel like, are we in the same country?
It's too much.
May God help us. All right, you are a mental health instructor and also a medical physiologist. Give us a brief introduction about yourself, your profession.
Okay. Thanks for this moment.
You're welcome.
Just like she introduced, my name is Grace Okwa Ogilegwu. I'm from Benue State, Engendered by tribe. Okay, I am.
What's that now?
I wanted to give small accolades to Benue State people, not to Benue people.
It's all right. We'll have this conversation later.
I'm a certified medical physiologist, graduated from Benue State University.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now I'm working with the governmental organization related to health sector. So yes, that's what I do currently, and also a medical and mental health advocate, looking at the essential part of our mental health. So that has pushed me into the mental health, having to understand what the mental health entails and how it can affect our life, you know, our living and everything. So, and that's why I always advocate and also for mental health. So that's basically what.
Okay, so just to throw a quick question. You know, in I don't know, in Africa generally, in Nigeria, there is this resistance against mental health. They refuse to say, oh, okay, let's say I am depressed. They say, I'm an African, I can't be depressed. Have you come in contact with people like that?
Yes, I have. You know, there are people who do not even think mental health is a crucial issue. They feel like it is for the whites. But we have numbers of people who are down mentally but are not aware because they refuse to accept that there is a problem. And it's so very bad because you can be down. A lot of people, there are issues of suicide. You know, it doesn't just start in a day. It starts, you know, having to have gradually. You know, it's a gradual process. So you know, the fact, you know, people keep saying this, that we are raising, but that's not true. A lot of people are down with mental health issue, but they are not aware. And there's one thing about mental health is that, you know, mental health disorder is a one thing on its own. So the fact that you're not depressed, the fact that you don't have anxiety, the fact that you don't have some disorders of mental PST, and does not mean you're mentally okay. So if you don't have the ability to think well, you know, make choices accurately, it means that you are not mentally stable. So I think people do not really understand the definition of it. That's why most people think that's it's not, and it's very important. Our mental health is very important.
Just throwing this to the family of the CEO of Konga. I saw it online yesterday that he committed suicide.
Yes. And in fact, the reactions I've been getting from some Nigerians, they were like, a CEO committing suicide, what would have prompted such action?
What could have pushed him?
And then some people making jokes of it, like, if a CEO can commit suicide, who am I? Are you playing?
That's
Nigerians, please play less.
Play something else.
So everyone can be affected by mental health because there's so much.
No matter your status,
you can be affected, you know, depending on what is the cause. So probably his might not be money, but it could be family issue, it could be work, you know, having to keep up with the economic standard, you know, or probably, you know, family issues. So, you know, it ranges from different, you know, aspects. So, you know, people think once you have money,
everything is solved.
And then they forget that the rich also cry.
They cry. Because because having the money is not even enough ability to sustain it.
Right.
It's another stress on our mental health. So you see, so it's not enough to have money and feel you're okay. So people should not be so, you know, why did he? No. Everybody can be affected. It's just that we do not talk about this thing. That's why people die inside. Assuming those things are vocal, you know, people would, because imagine you tell someone that you're depressed. Like, how can you be depressed? No, you know, there's a kind of reaction people get. So a lot of people who have mental health issue, you know, try to hide themselves because of the reaction of people. And at the end of the day, we start having cases like suicide, you know, so it's something we should be vocal about, you know. The fact that you're mentally down does not mean you are. Something is wrong with you. It's just, you should. I mean, the society we live now, the economy, the environmental, the climate change and all.
Recently, my friend said she was depressed, and do you know that nobody believed her? We just glanced over the message like it was nothing. And she actually had something going on.
Yeah, it's just as if being mental is meant for like a particular set of people.
Yeah, like
it's not
it should
proper.
not be so.
Right, so in your field of discipline now, what challenges have you encountered so far?
Okay, I think, we should look at my specialty, which is, it has to do with cardio. Physiology. Okay, part of the things I've encountered is the knowledge people have. You know, people are limited in their knowledge, especially when it comes to the word of hypertension, which is where I really, you know, hit most of the times. You know, people, you know, ideology about things at the cost of most deaths. Just like the way we were discussing about mental health, about people who do not believe that people can be mentally down. You know, so I've encountered people who have this whole ideology that, okay, you should not have some kind of certain sickness, you should not have, you know, once you are hypertensive, you know, so some kind of, you know, misconception about health related issue has led a lot of people to even suffer from the effect. So those are the things I've encountered, you know, people ignorance about some health, you know, health knowledge. So
And he says that ignorance does kill faster.
It kills
Big
faster.
time.
You
It
know,
is.
it is not, most
Faster.
times it's not the illness that kills, but the ability not to know about it that kills faster.
Let's now delve straight to the topic of discussion this evening on the Engendered show, which is the effects of drug abuse on kids and teenagers. Now, Grace, in a simple term, tell us what is drug abuse.
Okay, drug abuse is just the abuse of drugs, just like you say in a simple term.
Okay.
You know, the illegal use of drugs without doctor prescription.
Okay.
When you use the drugs without being prescribed by a doctor, so that's what drug abuse is in a simple terms. Of course, they are different when it comes to drug abuse. Of course, they are hard drugs, hard substance, and they are also prescribed drugs. They are abused. So you know, they are in two phases. So we have drugs, they have hard drugs, which are abused, and we also have prescribed drugs that are also abused. You know, your common cough syrup, they've been abused. So yeah, so drug abuse is the illegal use of drugs without, you know, being prescribed by a health professional.
Okay, now there are factors that contributes to this the abuse of drugs, mostly among our kids and teenagers. What are these factors that lead to such acts?
Okay, yeah, there's so many factors, and one of it is peer pressure.
Okay.
You know, we live in a society where you're not just alone living, especially kids who go to school. You know, you're going there to meet diverse kinds of people, people from different homes. You know, a lot of families who abuse drugs, you know, it's a common thing in their family. You know, there are a lot of families. So imagine you know, as a teenager, as a kid, being exposed, you know, so peer pressure is one thing, one factor that lead people into abusing drugs. You know, in school, you know, before you can belong to this group, you know, in school there are always groups and peers, you know, and if you want to be part of them, you know, there are always standard, all these things you must abide regulations. So that is one of the ways, you know, kids or teenagers are being influenced to abuse drugs. So peer pressure, and also low self-esteem. You know, these things are not being said, but this is one of the issues why a child will want to abuse drug. You know, feeling so low about yourself, you know, don't having a good, you know, thought about you, you know, it can lead you to abuse. Probably you want to feel among, you want to be high there. So, you know, kids with low self-esteem are at risk, you know, of abusing drugs. And also family trait. You know, I spoke about, you know, family. There's some families today that abuse drug. It is in the gene. It is something that is a trait in the family. So imagine, you know, kids or teenagers are very sensitive. They don't talk, but you're very sensitive to what you do.
Exactly.
They'll watch you. They'll watch you. So, you know, so most of these kids pick these things from their parents. I know people who abuse drugs, you know, parents who abuse drugs. I know when I was very young, I know a woman who was abusing drugs. I think there's a point where she's asked me to go get her something. You know, I was very little. So imagine, you know, having to...
abusing the drugs, is that they take like overdose or something?
Overdose or substance, you know, abuse substance. You know, so imagine, you know, having to live in that kind of home, you know, as a child. You're being exposed. So you see, family also, aside the fact that we have peer pressure, influence, aside the fact low self-esteem, also family breakdown or family conflict can also lead, or people, genetic, it can also lead to why kids can, you know, abuse drugs. And also, I think the economic, in a way,
that's poverty.
That's poverty too. You know, when people are, you know, when, you know, families do not have words. And imagine someone asking you, you know, that's the one part of peer influence, you know, having to, okay, do this and I'm going to give you. So poverty also is one of the reasons why people also want to abuse drugs, because people, you know, the reason why people take drugs or abuse substances is to, you know, to live beyond their, you know, circumstances. So teenagers today feel, you know, when they are depressed, you know, when they are down, they can get a substance. You know, now these teenagers are there, you know, to make them feel. So to live above their situation, or not to think about their situation, the reality. So these are the, I think, major reasons why, you know, teenagers, you know, abuse drugs. These are the major reasons.
If you take drugs just to, you know, alleviate a problem for a particular time, the problem is still there.
It's still there.
Once you bounce back to reality, your eye will open.
But for the meantime,
just for the meantime.
For the meantime, just let go.
Just to let go, you know,
and with adverse health consequences.
You know, just let go.
It's better you face that problem headstrong than you taking a drug that will, you know, in turn affect
you.
you.
And that's why most of them don't have this education. So that's why maybe they saw someone doing it, so they felt this is the way to deal with issues, you know, coping mechanism and all.
Or you get a healthy coping mechanism. You don't have to necessarily go into the, you know, things like that, taking drugs. You know, there's some people that when they want to, you know, let go, they do things like gymming. They go to the gym. You know, gym just yoga to take your mind off of that. You know, do yoga or even eat. Okay, don't eat too much because that can lead to other problems.
Eating too much is also
that can lead to other problems.
You know, you talk to someone you can confide in. Share your problem. I mean, they say a problem shared, a problem solved. Just confide in someone. All right, moving away from there. Yesterday was World Drug Abuse Day. Yeah, it was being commemorated now. What do you have to say about this World Drug Abuse Day? I mean, I think it's a day where we create awareness concerning the effects, you know, the adverse effects of drugs.
Trafficking.
So what do you have to say about it?
Okay, you know, celebrating yesterday, just like it was International Drug Day. Yeah, it's a very good one because it's a time where we speak about the what substance abuse is and the adverse effects it can have on not just the individual abusing the drug, but in the society. Imagine living with someone who abused drugs. You know, imagine living with someone with a mental disorder. You know how it can be. You're not safe
at all
as yourself. Even if you're thinking, oh, you're safe, but you're not safe because one day the person can just wake up, you know, pick out, you know, a very sharp substance, you know, because of the way they act at the moment. So so I think it's really a good one that we have to be celebrating that. It means that even the public, the health, probably not the health, but the world are really pushing to see how they can solve the issue of, you know, drug or substance abuse because of its adverse effect it has on the people and also, you know, in the society.
I really like that we're celebrating it because it seems like in Nigeria, the drug problem is not something that we really discuss about. It's very overlooked.
It's overlooked.
It's very overlooked.
And it's more dominant in Nigeria.
Yeah, the way it's overlooked, you would think we have no drug problem.
Exactly.
But every day you see videos on social media where you just see people knocked out by drugs, and at that point you're just like, this is a problem, but no one is talking about it.
It's been overlooked.
And some people will be like, okay, I don't take codeine, I don't take loud,
I only take this one,
but I take alcohol. Is alcohol not also part of the drug abuse?
It's part of the substance abuse.
They said no, this alcohol is out of it.
It's not.
Oh wow. So viewers, today, take note, alcohol is also part of abusing drugs.
Yes, I think we'll be listing out the substance that have been abused or substance that can be abused as we go forward.
Okay.
You know, it says.
And the theme for World Drug Abuse Day is evidence is clear. Obviously, the evidence is clear. So what next? Invest in prevention. How do we invest in preventing this drug abuse in order for it not to escalate? Exactly.
Okay, in preventing drug abuse, there are diverse ways we have to implement because it cannot just be one thing, but it has to be diverse. And one of the things is through education. I think from someone back, I was at NDLEA office, and this was what we discussed about, you know, drug abuse. And one of the things I suggested, you know, because we noticed that even growing children, kids are now abusing drugs. So I suggested that why don't we make this subject more like a curriculum in the school? Let it be a compulsory that even as you're stepping from your primary one, so you're getting to know about these things. So even if someone comes out to initiate you into it, you've been trained, you already have knowledge. So education is one of the ways we can eradicate or help to, you know, reduce it from escalating. So if we can educate the public, educate kids in the home, in the church, in the mosque, you know, because not everybody will be in the school, but at least we can get them in the mosque, we can get them in the church, you know, in the market. So if we can make this, you know, very, you know, we can implement it. You know, a lot of people will see, they're like, oh, this thing is really serious, you know, having to have the education everywhere. Another thing is through campaign awareness, through aside education in the school, Because the only time you hear about this whole thing about is only during World International this thing. You don't see drug day, you don't see campaign. So if we can have campaign awareness once in whereas it's refreshing the whole thing in their brain to know that okay, there's something as this, there's something as this. And another thing is to reduce stigma, because people who are involved in this drug abuse, not necessarily because they really want to abuse drugs, because I was telling them at the end, most person, their underlying issue to why they take drugs. So if this underlying issue can be solved, I think we can all. So when people with problem goes to us, we should not neglect them. We should give listening ear. So I think another way is the society helping people to not to stigmatize people who have mental instability or who are depressed, because if you are depressed, you will want to take something to stimulate your mind. So when we hear people saying they are depressed, we should get closer to this. So I think this is where the society comes in place now. Through that way we can prevent, because people who abuse drugs, most persons who abuse, they do not do it intentional. Their underlying issue, people can be depressed, people can economy make that so if we can solve this issue, I think we can help prevent or reduce the whole drug abuse. Another thing, again, building the economy. The economic is one of the reasons, because there's so much in drugs, there's so much money, people earn so much.
Yahoo boys here.
They earn so much. You know how much
I've heard about this, because like someone was just like, do you know how much a barrel cover of cocaine is? And you'll be hearing in the range of like, you know how little barrel cover is? You'll be hearing in the range of like 10k, 15k for that little thing. And that's maybe for even the not so quality one. They have grades.
Exactly. Yes.
So the quality one, maybe you're hearing like 20, and that is so much money.
I think that's where the government comes in terms of revamping the economy.
Cracking down on people that do it, cracking down on
and the NDLE also have a major role to play here.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do. So I think through education, campaign awareness, society help in place, and also helping the economy can help prevent or reduce.
And then the parents also have
and again, the parent has a major role. Yes, true. I said something there one time. If you don't educate your child, they get educated outside, and it's so dangerous. So you should be the first person to tell your child about this thing. It should be something you keep ringing in their ears. So when they're out there, because the truth is, most kids who are being influenced or who abuse drugs, most of them don't even know that they don't know the effects. They just saw a stranger who told them this and this. But if you've educated your child before going out there, because the world is not friendly, you're going to meet people out there. So it's good. See, another thing is parents educating their children on what drug abuse. You don't need to know so much, but you can tell drug abuse is not good. Substance abuse is not good. So I think the parent has a role.
And even if you don't know too much, I mean, the technology has made life easier for us. You can research and teach. Now, talking about educating these young ones concerning the effects of drug abuse, is there any age limitation for such education?
There's no age, as long as a child can understand, read, and talk.
Okay.
I mean, from the age of 5 years, because I have a 6-year-old brother who talks so much, like he knows so much, he does so much.
Kids of this generation.
When I was coming, they were like, okay, he was even the one picking what to wear and what not to wear, So at the age of 5, you should start educating them, because at then their brains are even developed, they can sense, they can, So at the age of 5, your children should know, your kids should know things about, about life, society. So yes.
And this education applies to both gender.
Both gender.
Not just the male gender.
No, both female.
That's what some people will say.
Because
that this is only the male gender that involve themselves in drugs.
Nowadays,
many ladies are abusing
the thing is, it used to be that, like, when I hear, okay, people say like smoking, and I'm like, it's mostly guys that do it. But now
you need to say no.
Girls. They're taking the lead.
They are taking the lead.
And the reason why you see that
what a man can do, a woman can do better. They are taking the lead.
And the reason why you see that it's even eating up, because people don't believe they can.
Yeah,
that is it.
So they are not even focused on them. Whereas they are the ones.
They are the torchbearers in this instance.
And if you look at it health-wise, I think it affects the the female gender
woman, yes,
more than the male gender.
yes.
All right. So you are a mental health instructor per se. Now, what are the effects of this drug abuse? I mean, people need to know the effects so that they can take precautions. What are the effects?
Okay, the effects, it has effects on our physical health, in our mental health, and also on our, social. On our physical health, just like it has both long time and short time.
Exactly.
At the short time, it might make you feel better, just like on your physical health. It can increase so much alertness. It can, make you have this euphoria, joyful, great feelings. Oh, you're in somewhere. It can increase. I'm speaking on the physical. It can increase your blood pressure.
Okay.
It can increase so much alertness. You're okay. Then on the mental health also, it can stimulate you. You can become so high, so vibrant, full of energy. So you're just happy. There's this pleasure within you and all. So those are the short-term effects that people look out to, forgetting that they're long-term effects. And also on your social, there's an intention. Most people who go on stage sometimes perform are always on drugs. You see the way they perform. You will like it, but most of them are operating on their drugs. So these are the short-term effects. And let us speak on the long-term effects on our physical health. It can lead to chronic lung disease, liver disease, hearts, disease and all. I know of someone who died from a teenager who died from this. He started smoking, and at the point he had, lungs issue. From there he died. So this is what we can have in our physical. Even can lead to lung cancer, kidney failure, and so much. If you see the lungs of a person who smokes, you will run. I remember when we're having one of our classes, then you need to see the way the lungs was, seeing a healthy lungs, and so you see, so it has a long-term impact. Then on our mental health, can lead to mental disorder, like depression. It can lead to anxiety disorder. It can lead to even substance use disorder, where at that point you cannot withdraw any longer, where you're now being exposed. There's this uncontrollable desire for it. At that point is where your addiction comes in place. It can also lead to, it can alter your, your perception. It can alter the way you react to things, the way you act. That's why when you see people who have mental disorder, you see the way they're not just acting like the normal human beings. So those are the long-term effects it can have on our mental health. Depression is the anxiety, suicide. It can lead to suicide.
I've been meaning to ask this. On cigarettes, you're right, smokers are liable to die young. But then why are you still producing it?
No, because they're allowed to tell you that, okay, this thing you're taking would, cause you this. That's just them preventing it, preventing themselves from a lawsuit. But the thing is, what you are getting from it, like you said, it gives you, temporary pleasure, temporary calmness, temporary, you're at that point. I've heard people that say they smoke and, it relieves them.
It relieves them, yeah.
It does relieve them.
I think you should stop producing this thing. Smokers are liable to die young. You're producing. That means you are encouraging them.
They are telling you. They're telling you.
They're telling you.
Like Jesus Christ tell you, I admonish you, choose life. I give you life, and then
some people still choose
life. Some people still choose death. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's all right. All right, viewers, let's quickly go on a short break, and when we come back, the Engendered show will continue. Do stay with us. Don't touch the dial.
Girls, let's be fast with our chores. It's almost time for Engendered. Girls, it's time for your favorite program, Engendered. Yeah, Mommy, we're coming right away. Sophia, turn off the gas. What are your fears as a woman? And what are your doubts as a lady? You think you're alone with those thoughts? Then welcome to Engendered, where we bring you discuss, interviews, previews, experiences, opinions on issues relating to the female gender. This is Engendered.
Still on the Engendered show, and if you're just joining us, keep tuned. And still on the topic for today, the effect of drug abuse in youth and teenagers. And just for to continue the topic for today. Now, we've been talking about prevention, and as we said, the topic for this year's World Drug Day is invest in prevention. Are you aware of any governmental efforts or programs, or even non-governmental efforts? Because I know that there's some NGOs out there that have campaigns, that can help people that maybe want to get off, these drugs, because is like we said, it's very hard alone when they want to get out of it. And as a society, we want to fight against the stigma, which I think is going to be a fight that we're going to battle it out, because this society is very stigmatized against addicted people. Because you hear people say, nobody is forcing you to take this, nobody is forcing you to use your money to buy this, but the thing is, this is an addicted person. They are mental, like you said, it alters their perception of things. They're not reasoning right anymore. And some people actually do want to pull out of, but they can't. At that point, they need the help of people. So are you aware of programs where they can go, governmental or non-governmental programs?
I think the only thing I'm aware of is just the governmental, which is the NDLEA, because the last time we had, I think they said something like they've been moving around, reaching out to people who want to pull out, who are already addicted. And I think they are doing it in such a way where that the people they're not scared, because before there's always a kind of punishment, but now the punishment is no longer so so firm. So now they're even more
because I think for someone that uses drugs in Nigeria, I think you're liable to like 25 years in prison just for using for taking it and things like that. So I would understand that fear, because imagine, you say, come on, I'm addicted. You don't take me to prison. Take me to a rehab facility or something, because that's what we need to do.
That's what we need to do. I think, NDLEA, they are really helping in that. So if you have someone, you can connect them, and the treatment you're giving them now is really on a very good side. They're not really that so harsh towards them, because they're already addicted. They're not just normal human beings, so you cannot treat them. Even if you punish them, it's just a waste of time.
Exactly.
I think the last time I was there, I think there were people who were involved in some skills. I saw some of them there. Because you cannot release them at the point to a society. You have to engage them, their mind onto. Coming out from addiction is not. It's take long.
That means they're being taken to rehabilitation center or something.
Yes, where you talk to your pull out. I think the last time I went, I saw some of them, involving in one skills. So I think the only one I know of is NDLE. So if you have people, you can. I think there was a time they gave us their number, but I don't have the contact here. But if you have, you can reach out to them, and they're ready to pull out their resources to bring people out.
Yes. Drug abuse, you agree with me that it doesn't just happen like that.
It doesn't happen.
It happens because the drugs are being trafficked into Nigeria. Now, how can we prevent this drug trafficking in order to reduce or probably eradicate the use of drugs, the misuse of drugs?
On my own part,
has
a dream.
It's not going to be
possible. It's not going to be possible. We can reduce, because like they make a lot. See, there's some countries that live on the money boosts the economy.
That's what I was just trying to say.
It is I think drug money. I would just say drug money. I don't know. I'm just in my own opinion, would be, you know, a part of our GDP where they don't mention it. They will not mention that part, but it does boost the economy. So to eradicate that, it's going to take a lot on the part of the government and the society. Because I usually say something to someone. We are cracking down on internet fraud, you know, Yahoo boys and this thing. But I bet you within like I'll say within like 2-3 people, you know, 1 or 2 people that are doing this thing. If we all come to report them, don't you think that it will start getting better? But because we all report, we are indulgent of this. We enable them. That's the thing.
That means the change we are looking for starts within us.
With us. Okay. We are always pushing to the government all the time, government, but sometimes we just have to do our own bit.
And the thing is, it's most substance they are even abused. Most of them, it's not necessarily, you know, hard drugs. Your cough syrup can be abused.
Codeine,
and you know, having to take just some chemicals in cough syrup that when you overdose it, it can stimulate you and start acting. So you know, kids have access to cough syrup, over-counter drugs. So there are some painkillers also. So these are the things we should. So it's not even about the cannabis, the cocaine, you know. There are people who take cough syrup, who take others, you know, this. So there are also some accessible things, substance within that can also, you know, lead to, you know, some kind of effect. So, but you know, you're talking about trafficking. Sincerely, it's going to be so difficult having to deal with that, and that's why, you know, they keep saying about prevention. Don't indulge in it, because because just like what some countries sustain on that. On the money that comes from this drug, you know, even some people. So imagine, you know, having to stop it. That means some countries had to close, has to, you know, come back.
So the revenue will reduce drastically.
So I think the thing is just for people to be educated about the adverse effects
and
you know, the prevention. That is just it.
Yeah. So for the purpose of clarity, you know, initially we're supposed to, you know, list the types of drugs that are being abused. So just tell us those drugs that are being abused.
Okay, there are substances being abused. Okay, we should speak from the hard substance, you know, alcohol, you know, which people think it is legal, it is everywhere, but if abused, it can lead to diverse health, you know, condition as well as mental condition, and also social condition, because even most persons, when you start having mental, you cannot cope. You know, a lot of employers will have to withdraw their employment from, you know, a lot of people lose family, you know, dissociate from family. And also cocaine, we know about cocaine, you know, these are, you know, substance that when abused can cause so much effect. We also know of nicotine. I think it's part of, you know, cocaine, nicotine, marijuana, and all these are hard substances, you know, that if abused can also lead. And also we have prescribed drugs, drugs that are prescribed in the hospital that people abuse. We spoke about over-counter drugs like cough syrup, you know, painkillers. So these substances, when abused, so these are the things people take that abuse it. You know, most people do. You know, people. You know, some parents in their children consuming cough syrup. They don't know. Oh, they have cough. They don't have cough.
I once heard about someone that got addicted to cough syrup.
They don't.
Wow.
Yeah, they had to. I don't know. I didn't even know. I don't know how they got him off it, but they did. But it was everything. It would add cough syrup. It's alcohol. It would add cough syrup.
Wow.
It was to that level.
I think that's the one that is more commonly abused by kids who do not have, or who do not have access to, you know, hard substance like cocaine and all. So those little ones,
they
you
would
know,
make sure they use it.
And you know, it can stimulate them, you know, put them on their high level, because it contains chemicals or compounds in it or elements in it that can, you know, stir them up. So these are the things that people abuse or teenagers abuse that we need to look at for. You know, you see a child consuming cough, going for pink, you should know why. So these are the things that them at their stage can have access, and you know, they can abuse. So so those are the common abuse drugs or common abuse substances.
Well noted. Now, as a mental health instructor, have you had cases, you know, of kids or teenagers being affected by drug abuse? And if you have, how did you handle the situation?
Okay, where I've heard, you know, people, but well, we couldn't do anything. Yeah, but we had to refer and all. Yes, we've heard I've had teenager. Yeah, within that, I've not really had children, but yeah, teenager.
Okay.
And within that, this thing, I think there was just because once you're addicted to this thing, it becomes easy. It becomes hard to break through because there's a way the brain works that habits, the way it's formed. That when you keep doing something every day, your brain rearranges the neural connector and then subject it to that particular. So there are times where you don't need to force yourself. It starts happening involuntary and all. So at that point it becomes so very difficult to pull out. But I think one of the things we had to do was first, because the truth of the matter is once there's always an approach. You don't scare them, especially if they're non-children, and there's a way you have to handle them, make them see, okay, they are not a problem, or they are not the problem. The problem is just the drug. So getting them first, it's a way you can deal with it, and also through the help of psychologists who we speak to them, having to motivate them, talk to them, because they have to be the ways for this pulling is it's not just the medical. There's a need for drugs. There's a need for the psychologist.
Okay, it's not just a one-way thing.
It's not a one-way thing. You can't use a one-way thing because now every part of them has been affected. Their physical health, you're working on that. Their mental health is affected, and their society, to their social, connection, or it's also affected. And I think the third is to, tell the society about to those people. Don't just drive them. I know it's not easy to pull someone or to employ someone who have mental, but there's a way you can handle them and make them feel alright. So the treatment option has to encompass everything. You have to get a psychologist. You have to get so as you're treating the adverse effects on the physical health, on their organs, they are part of their body. There's also need for you to talk to them, to speak to them, because at this point you're no longer operating on the level you're operating, no longer normal. So there's a need to bring them in a very good and okay manner. So with that treatment offer, and again, making the treatment accessible and very in a very fair way. So with that we can pull this, even if it's difficult, but once we put all this thing together, it is achievable, no matter how addicted it is achievable.
We in the modern parts of the country, as the urban, we have access to this phone technologies, but then those in the rural communities, they don't have access to this phone. Now, how can we take this drug abuse awareness down to the local roads?
That's right. The job, has to be, the government, yes, the non-governmenters, we have to. I think that was one of the things I would discuss at the meeting too. There's a need to push, because if we're trying to pull out the people who live within, what about those? So there's a need for people to go into them. We have so many non-government. I think we should also, because I don't know if probably people really don't want to do drug abuse. I think maybe it's not, but it is. People should go into those places, because when you don't have access to the treatment, to so many, even the education, you abuse it, you will die of the effect. So the condition is so bad in those places. So the best thing is for us to take the campaigns there, is for us to take the awareness there. That's the only way we can solve the problem of those in the right. So take the campaign there, and we can do it as society. If the government are not doing it, we too can push to that. I think with that.
Okay, so still talking about efforts, on how to break the cycles of drug abuse, prevention, and things like that. Just thinking about the laws. The thing is, we have laws that are there, and not necessarily, working or being implemented, or just they're just laws. I don't know about the laws concerning people that take. I know the laws are pretty strict, but do you think that if they got stricter, people would stop? Because, citing an example, I know in Hong Kong, I think they made their laws very strict recently, to the extent of death penalty.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's capital punishment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Death penalty. You're with drugs, you might die. So you taking drugs into that country, you get killed. You might get killed. So do you think if they made the laws that strict, or maybe, you know, just stricter, it might help, like really help?
Okay, it's real, but the problem is not on the laws. The problem is, are the people ready to keep it? The people who make the laws, are they ready to enforce and implement it? Because I think we have strict laws, but the problem is the implementing it and keeping to it, because corruption has sweeps into the sector that, you know, even when they get hold of those people, they are being paid to release them, you know, so bribing and all. So the problem is not even the law. The problem is dealing with the corruption. The dealing with the corruption. So if people can be good enough to keep away bribing and corruption, I think we can. With that, the law can be so real, and so the law can be firm. So the problem is not having the laws too strict; is to keep it, to implement it. So if we can take our face off from bribery and corruption, or with this way, we can help, you know, keep the law firm and, you know, also implement it. So it's not about making it more strict as it is, but keeping the one we have, implementing, enforcing, seeing that it works. That is the problem.
So you're saying capital punishment will not work?
To not work. Okay, if you know that is going to be bye-bye world.
Yeah, so even if they say that's by
Nigeria.
hanging, I remember I was in a place where I think someone did something, and the punishment for it was to die by hanging. And I had people saying, just forget it, it will not. You know, I had conversation regarding it, that people are coming, and then they came out that you killed someone, you were scot-free. I mean, so the one is not the law.
So that shows the level of the corruption in this country.
Is
It's just the corruption that hitting deep into the sectors and the system.
It's too much.
So it is not about the law.
Okay,
They are loved so much.
Buttress a bit about the signs and symptoms that shows that an individual is being affected by, you know, the misuse of drugs. What are the signs, the symptoms?
Okay, part of the, I think first of all, it has to be on, we get to say in their behavior. You know, a lot of people begin to withdraw from others. You know, when people begin to withdraw, because, you know, these drugs are in diverse form. You know, some can make you withdraw. You know, some we have just like the stimulants, the depressants. You know, most of those. So when people start withdrawing from, you know, friends, family, it's a sign that something is going on. It's a sign that there is a problem. Or when people, I think another thing to look out for too is, you know, people, you know, becoming more, you know, having this whole, probably depression, you know, when people come, so, you know, having to deal with, mood swing, let me use the word mood swing, there's a change of mood swing, having to, you know, today you are high, today you are down, today you are just middle, there's a panic, there's, you know, so those are the signs we can see that, okay, there's something happening in that place. And another thing we have to look for is the alertness. The thing is that when people are always, you know, it's okay to be very excited, but when there's not intense, you know, alertness, and you know, you just this person's always on a very, you know, regardless of you don't know, but you just know that this person's on an intense system. These are signs we have to look out for. And when it comes to kids or teenagers, when they're no longer, they don't find it pleasurable to be involved in school activities, you know. They lose they don't have this concentration and focus in their school activities. Those are signs that won't come to teenagers, because a lot of adults can, you know, cover up and, you know, but those are the signs that we can say in kids and know that there's something wrong. There's some, because most of the times the physical health will not show immediately until after a while, you know. But those withdrawal method, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, you know, loss of, you know, this thing, your desire in activities you once liked. So those are the signs that when we see in the midst or in children and teenagers, it's a sign to show that these people are actually involved, or when people began to speak in a way that it is not, you know, we have things like isolation where people disconnect and began to, you know, think in a way differently, and also those are the signs that when we see, we can say, okay, this can be traced to this. It might not be, but those are the signs. That's why it's called signs. You know, those are the signs we can read.
You know, we keep talking about the modern medicine being abused. What about the traditional medicine? You not undergo drug abuse as well. I mean, it's been ringing in my head. Okay, we're talking about modern medicine.
Yeah.
What about traditional? We have is it the agbo?
Because those ones are more helpful to your system.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I'm just giving my my 2
Okay.
cents about, because those ones are more helpful to your system. Because what are they doing? They are probably washing something out. They are, you know, curing something. So I don't think, except for the ones that they now add, you know, they add something like, they add things like alcohol. Because I'm Yoruba. That's, I would say that's our specialty. Agbo. I know that sometimes they add alcohol to some, and some people now can start taking that constantly, despite the fact that he's doing something. They say, oh, he's doing something, but it's the highness they want to feel.
Yes.
There is that. But you want to get, and it's too bitter to get addicted to.
Yeah,
it's too bitter.
Some people made a kind of a research that most of these roots or herbs, when you overtake them, it kind of affects the health.
It does.
Especially this same agbo.
Yes, it does. The thing is that you see, about medication or drugs, they are even more concentrated than even your normal system, because it's it's leaves, they are fresh. You don't even know the concentration of this particular thing in it, so it is even more dangerous.
And some of the modern medicines are being produced through this
thing. It's been called divided, so it's even more dangerous or more harmful when you don't take it without doctor prescription.
Wow.
So a doctor has
the
to
herbal
doctor.
I know in China. I know in China they have the traditional doctors.
Yeah, we also have
not okay, we have not babalawo.
No,
herbal doctors. Yes, I know, like, and they go there, they prescribe, like, it's a thing. But I didn't even know that.
Because the thing is that
like
once you take this herbal
Nigeria.
medicine without having the knowledge of it can affect your physical health.
Exactly.
It can damage your kidney, it can damage your liver. A lot of persons are suffering from this because they don't have people will tell you that, okay, this is what our forefathers fed on, but you don't know the implication it's had. We're not there, so we can't even see. And again, you can't compare the climate, you cannot compare the body, the food and all.
And most of these roots are kind of acidic, and you just take, some people take them raw.
So you're just giving me a sword again. Anytime my mom should ask me to drink agbo like this, I would
think
just
we're
tell
putting
her.
on the same shoes. And I've been telling her, I say,
It's not so ideal.
My mom, she's always particular. Oh, drink agbo. Oh, you must drink
I tell you, it works
So,
faster than the modern medicine.
I'm going to tell her, you don't know what is inside. I'm sure I would not be able to do it.
I think that was something that happened. A lecturer of mine then in school, and I think we were just having this conversation of how about this thing, and I think the man had kidney issue, and of course it was a kidney, liver, but he was taking his drugs, and later the man came that no, should take him and go and take herbal. Herbal medicine are not bad, but because of you don't understand the concentration, you're not a botanist, you don't even know more about it. So how do you? So after like 2 or 3 days of taking, he died. Because most of the time, just like she was talking about the acidic nature, most of the time the can be more than your system. So you don't understand your body, and you're going on to take. This is a very strong.
I mean, what works for A may not work for you, because our system differs.
And again, the kind of food we consume was not the kind of food they consume. These days, our systems are used to more processed. So imagine having to take. It can destroy your kidney, your liver, and all if it's not well taken.
That's true.
So it's not advisable to just speak about, to just speak this. Even if it has been working for your forefathers, you're different. You're in a different generation. Imagine this.
I just want to say, mommies, please stop forcing your babies.
This is a work of most mothers.
Someone will come to the hospital. You are here to buy. You say, have you not taken this herbal medicine? You're in the hospital. You're
like you refer someone to take herbal medicine.
It's something like you miss it on this small child of 9 months.
Mothers really have a major role to play.
That's why you say a lot of children began to develop some kind of this, and you wonder why, because of the things you started with them. It's not so ideal.
Thank you so much, Grace. It's really been a wonderful time having you here in the studio. I mean, I've learned 1 or 2, right?
I have.
All right, viewers, I'm sure you've also learned 1 or 2 concerning the effects of drug abuse. Now, in our guest voice, the government has a role to play. Religion has a role to play, Christian or Muslim. The society has a role to play, especially when it comes to stigmatizing the victims of this drug addiction. Don't stigmatize them. Welcome them with your hands. Let them be able to confide in you so that in one way or the other you can help to alleviate this problem of theirs. And also, most importantly, the parents, especially mothers, you have an important role to play in terms of educating your kids, your teenagers, adolescents on the effects of drug abuse. I remain your lovely host for today, Confidence Reuben.
And I am Bukola Ogungbeje. At the end of every day, do learn something. And stay tuned on KAFTAN TV for more update.
Bye.